So, protecting your company from rising risks, especially with this hot topic of nuclear verdicts. So, let me just tell you a little bit about a little bit about us, and I'll start with our headquarters. So, our national headquarters are in Orlando, Florida, and the reason why this is relevant is not only is it the happiest place on earth, but it's also the place of the largest nuclear verdict, which came down last year. You're well aware the $1 billion, right? We thought 411 was the tops, but no, 1 billion really captivated and really sent shivers through all of the trucking companies within the United States. So let me give you a little history of how that happened. About 4 years ago on Interstate I-95 near Jacksonville, about 3 hours north of us, there was a teenager stopped in traffic on I-95 due to an overtrained tractor trailer. Unfortunately, he was hit from behind and killed ultimately by a gentleman or a driver named Russell, who was driving for AJD Business Services. And then also there was another defendant in the case, a Canadian carrier, who was also sent down with a nuclear verdict of $98 million. He was on his 25th hour of service, found that he could not read English very well, and he was cruising on cruise control about 70 miles per hour and did not break into the last moment. But I'll go back to Russell at AJD Business Services. So originally, distracted driving, he was over his hours of service. But as prosecution peeled back the layers of the company and their safety practices, they took a very nasty reptilian approach, as they should, because the company was negligent. In fact, there was no background check done, no history of motor vehicle report done, and this gentleman, Russell, had a record of previous violations. In fact, he didn't even have a CDL. So the company was seen as negligent. So not only did they have to pay out $16 million in emotional distress to the mother of the son that was killed, but $900 million in punitive damages. Why? Negligence, 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 negligence. And you should have known as common practice in our world today. So we're here to present to you one of these nuclear verdict detonators. We're one piece of the puzzle to help people be proactive and take the mongoose approach versus sit back and think this will never happen to me. So as you guys know, the stats are staggering, right? So I think the important thing to remember out of this is that drivers with suspended licenses are 3 times more likely to kill or seriously injure others in collisions. I'm not going to read through all of these points here. You know that insurance premiums are going up, even if customers are doing everything right. You know that in the past 5 years, there have been 5 times more, more $20 million verdicts in the past 5 years than they were the years before that. And as a Department of Transportation regulated business, your customers are well aware that it's their responsibility every year. And I see some questions coming in, so let me see here. European truck.
And Chris, we can actually wait off to the end of the presentation for questions. We'll let them come in.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. So, as a Department of Regulated Business, you're insured absolutely know that it's their responsibility to at least pull their annual report for each and every driver. But that simply checks the box. It doesn't prevent the fact that Harry originally said, what happens if you pull their annual and then the next day they get into a DUI, right? So, and then drivers are responsible to self-report. Well, they say up to 40 to 50% of your drivers are not going to self-report. So that could mean that you will be in noncompliance or your partner will be in noncompliance and could be hit with a fine for $6,000 and far worse if in fact there is an accident. So for over a decade, our mission has been very simple. I'm going to flip over the platform in a second so I can give you a 2-minute overview of what it actually looks like. But people actually don't realize that this technology has been around for much longer than a decade. So it is actually a state-provided service. We just provide the technology to make it easy for customers to utilize it. We value innovation, excellence, and a customer-first approach. That's why if an insured is ever referred to us through the roads marketplace, they will feel educated and appreciative that they came to us, even if they don't decide with which to move forward. Ultimately, when we connect to the DMVs, and there's 51 within the United States, including DC, when a negative alert or something negative happens on one of the driver's records for your insured, your company, that company is going to receive an immediate alert when new violations or suspensions appear, versus that one time a year antiquated check of MVRs. So lots of differentiators and benefits for your customers. You know, they say that MVR monitoring can prevent up to 35% of FMCSA violations, most of which are CDL downgrades. And it really helps you with predictive driving patterns, seeing those drivers that we need to watch and get off the road. Along with that, you are very well aware of the cost to your driver. So having a nuclear verdict detonator such as MVR monitoring can prevent them from costs of violations. What if one of those drivers is grounded, finding a new driver? If it hits their CSA score, hurting their brand reputation, ultimately customers not deciding to move forward with them. And then of course, I always like to talk about, and you know better than I, rising insurance premiums, or maybe your underwriter or your carrier just saying, we're just going to drop you going forward. But you know about that much better than I do. So we do provide nationwide coverage, real-time notifications, reminders, scoring, and DQ file management system. So we added the DQ file management system because one of our fine partners, Colorado Department of Transportation, wanted to bring their compliance in-house. So most people are either utilizing some sort of folders, which are not very safe, or secondly, they're not necessarily in proper form or manila folders. So we created that free service as part of our platform for our drivers as well. So a couple things, you know, Embark Safety is really going to help your company do is save your company time and money and reduce human error. And the reason why I say reduce human error is because the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators created this system called coding called ACDs. Now, an ACD code is the short form of a longer phrase. But every time your partner, your insured reviews an MVR, it's got this code on it. It's a nationwide coding system, which there's thousands of codes. They're different per state. So trying to understand what that code means is not a simple process. So we're going to help them decode what an MVR means for them. Reduce risk, preserve brand reputation, save money, and bottom line, promote that culture of safety that we're all asking them to do. And you as risk professionals are requiring or suggesting heavily that they take a more proactive approach rather than sit back and think this won't ever happen to me. So both of us will work together, redefining safety on our roadways and reducing vehicle accidents with innovation backed by experience. And before I flip over, just want to say thank you guys once again for the opportunity to create these safer communities and essentially thwart these reptilian attacks for your clients. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to flip over to show you the platform. I wish I could speak with everyone on this call here because I'm curious to know who has actually seen a monitoring platform before. So I'm not going to go through, so I'm sure everyone can see this platform. If you cannot, please put it in the chat box that you cannot see my screen, the dashboard screen. So I'm not going to go through the help page and the account page. I'm just going to give a quick overview of what really MVR monitoring is. Safe and secure platform. About 30% of our business is government municipality. So you can understand the audits and the safety protocols that we need to have in place to protect this proprietary information for our customers, of which we have thousands nationwide. Amtrak, Bridgestone, Colorado Department of Transportation, Ohio Transit Risk Authority. I can go on and on. But I'm going to go through this quick page to show you the two main things that we're going to do to help your clients, make it really simple on them to prevent, in part, these nuclear verdicts. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to decode if an MVR is good or not. So when you enroll a driver into monitoring, you're going to pull that initial MVR that can be utilized for their annual. You can send them in batch here. It is FMCSA approved. And that MVR is going to set the color score of your drivers, most of which are going to be green. This small demo screen here. A couple are going to be yellow, which means there's some sort of violation. And then your bad kids are going to be red, suspended, revoked, license. This automatically takes out the guesswork of who you need to go after right away and get off the roads immediately. So right off the bat, we're going to tell you who's a bad driver. I'll make a quick note. If you do have customers with more defined scoring systems, we absolutely can make a more defined scoring system and add up to 10 additional colors and scores for those specific clients at no additional charge. You could drop down and have customized names here and filter things anyway as well. The other thing I'll just really quickly point on is the alert platform. So for the most part, whoever is managing this technology has 1,300 different duties with which to do. This is not the only thing that they need to do. So 95% of those people who are managing this platform are not actually in the platform. You can have unlimited users, of course, but they're not in the platform because they're waiting for an alert to occur. The only people that are in the platform are maybe going to be people that are pulling pre-employment MVRs, which will go back instantly, with the exception of Ohio and Hawaii in 2 hours. Otherwise, you'll do a pre-employment MVR, which is necessary to see if someone's a good or good driver. And then secondly, the alert platform. The alerts occur when something negative occurs on a driver's record. You will be sent an email alert prompting you or your insured to log into the system. So I'll talk about Eugenie here. Yesterday, if you were in the system, he was green. He panned to red. And ultimately, that sent an alert to the email of the administrator saying, Eugenie Barbados suspended license, hyperlink back in here, and then they'll be able to see exactly what his infraction is, and then the DMV report from the state. Ultimately, removing questions in between pulls and removing the fact that people don't have to log in here all the time. It's so simple. We try to keep it extremely simple for people with which to manage. With that said, I'll show you a couple other things. I'm not going to go through a full length view, but I want to point out a couple other things which are going to be important specifically for your companies and drivers. So if they had a medical certificate, it would be obviously pulled from the state. So you're going to get 30, 60, 90-day reminders. For those that want their annual MVRs, we're going to set and forget when those are due. Most often, those are obviously going to be run within 15 days of medical certificate expiration. And then this is going to be their DQ file manager, at which point they're going to tell us exactly what files they want from us, at which point they could add them here, say for auditing purposes, and set custom reminders, and pull reports to see who's in compliance or not. So really simplistic view of what'll happen. Now, a common question I ask or get asked is, it seems like a lot to manage, or how often do I get reminders, or do my drivers get negative infractions? Let's just say for every 100 drivers, 7%. So that's, if you have 100 drivers, that's less than 1 MVR per month. But that is, obviously, if you have 1,000 drivers, that's 70 infractions you would have missed over the course of the year if you only pull them manually. And this is your dashboard, same as your employees, updated in real time, and a little bit more of an aesthetic view of the drivers here. But ultimately, the system's designed to take away the guesswork of how to pull an MVR, if someone's a good driver or not, and then make it extremely easy on all of our customers to let them know, knock, 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 one of your drivers did something unfavorable, so it's time to log back into the platform to see exactly what they did. So it's a very manageable solution. And when I look back at some of the cases and I highlight the need for MVR monitoring, even this one against Warner Enterprises, this was $40 million, and this was last year, $40 million in damages. It was because they were hiring drivers that were disqualified. They failed to use the ordinary care in hiring, training, and supervising the retaining of drivers. They did not pull a background check and they did not pull an MVR check. Once again, $40 million is paid out by simple negligence. So with that, I appreciate so much your time, and I'm actually going to turn it back over to you.